System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Friday, September 26th. I am Amin TMK alongside Amoja Lil Tanky Sumler. Amoja, hello. Happy Friday. Weekend on the way. Maybe we was a bit late with this one. I don't know. Are we on a schedule? I don't know. But how are you? How's your Friday?
Hey, the news happened when the news happened. You know what I'm saying? It take a lot of time to go through what's real and what's bullshit. You know, and even we miss sometimes. We try to limit that. But, you know, again, we always say, man, we are not breaking news. You know,
No.
We just breaking news down.
There it is. But I will say this. You will rarely go 4 or 5 days without hearing us address the hot button issues that are important to us, to leftists, to commies, to anarchists, to whoever. You know, we got a big bunch of groups that are with us. But anyway, I digress. Shall we talk about some big geopolitical news, my friend? All right. Let's take a little look-see here. Some things is going on at the UN. This is happening now. This is diplomats walking out during Netanyahu's speech, and basically he's out here going to be talking in an empty room. And this is from Sarah O'Harao, XO. So here we go. Let's get it a little play here. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah.
All right. Let's show
Look, I love
people.
UN week. I ain't gonna lie. I'm so petty.
Yeah, here we go. Look, this is for the petty people. Sorry if I can get it to play here. We always dealing with technical difficulties over here. I want it to be so smooth, boom.
Please order in the hall.
As you can see, all the delegates, all the people here in attendance walking out. They actually prepared for this.
Please.
They already prepared for this, actually. They even made the walkways bigger, and they put signs for people because they knew that there was going to be a significant amount of people walking out. But either way, like you said, UN week has been spicy. Let me get your reaction to this, and maybe we can go on to a little bit more. Big deal, or what up? What's up with this?
Man, so I have a couple of thoughts. First off, I reject the world is no longer listening to Israeli propaganda, okay? Because all the motherfuckers that left came right back in when Trump was speaking. So the world's still getting Israeli propaganda, you know what I'm saying? That's unavoidable. Hasbara is baked into the whole system. And it just is what it is. I tell you the thing that I think about when I see Bibi give a speech. Time is so crazy, you know, in the COVID era. You can't remember what's a year, what's 2 years. It all feels like yesterday. But it feels like just yesterday that Bibi was up there giving a speech while the IDF was launching all them raids into Lebanon. It's when they killed Nasrallah and all of them while he was giving his speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, that happened, you know. A little bit earlier, you know, all of them people had died with the cell phones and the pagers. You know, I'm pretty sure all of that was during your UN week. You know what I'm saying? So, like, and a year is changed.
That's been a year? Wow.
Yeah, no one even talks about it now. You know, I mean, it really should have changed the entire security architecture of the entire world.
Just because Israel keeps escalating.
Doing things that are unthinkable, you know, and then joking about it. You know, everybody with a cell phone has a little piece of Israel.
And let's not forget, Doha just happened. Yeah, right. You know, and then so now you have these precedents that are all over the place. The pager incident, you know, what happened in Doha, many more things. And then basically just saying, whatever, we might do it again.
There's nothing they won't do. I mean, and again, these are the things that make it impossible to not have questions about the official story. Because we all know governments will create official stories, right? Israel has the official story of October 7th. America has the official story of Pearl Harbor and 9/11. You know, Iran has the official story about what happened to the president in a helicopter. But I got questions for all of those things.
Yeah. What about Charlie Kirk? Probably the guy they say, right?
An official story. Yo, there's only one force in the world I know that trains to shoot in the neck because they know that most people got vests or maybe caps. And boy, hey, look, I'm a shooter, man. That's a hell of a shot.
Can I give you one quick conspiracy theory as we move forward?
Let's get it.
Let's not forget where Shireen was hit.
That's not a conspiracy. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Could you imagine? If it could be the same shooter. You don't even know. You got promoted. You got promoted to big boy status. Anyway, that's conspiracy theory over.
Man. Yeah. So what else? What else you got for me as far as United Nations Week? I know you got all kinds of.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, there's been plenty to discuss. Everybody from, some of the African nations going up there and being like, look, reparations, Germany, France. You know, they on time with it. But basically, a lot of people have just been discussing Palestine and everything going on with the Holocaust in Gaza. And I want to say that this has been, you know how you have the MVP, but also you might have the player of the month, right? And this right here, I'm going to just go ahead and say this is my player of the month right now. This is the president in Colombia, President Petro. Okay, so I'm going to play this. This is going to be in Spanish for our YouTube listeners. You'll be able to, watchers, I guess, you'll be able to see the captions. But this is what he's saying. He's saying Trump fires missiles at unarmed migrant boats, calling them traffickers and terrorists, though they carry no weapons. Meanwhile, the actual traffickers live in New York and Miami, cutting deals with DEA to move drugs through Africa, Europe, Russia, and China. I'm going to let this play, and I just want to get your reaction afterwards.
Armadas de migrantes y los acusa de narcotraficantes y terroristas sin ellos tener una sola arma para defenderse. Cuando los narcotraficantes viven en Nueva York, aquí mismo, a unas cuantas cuadras, y en Miami, y hacen acuerdos con la DEA, donde les permiten traficar en África, en Europa, Rusia o China, pero no en los Estados Unidos, país que detiene el crecimiento del consumo de cocaína sin rebajarlo, solo porque sus enfermos drogadictos pasaron y son enfermos. Pasaron a consumir la droga mortal de la contracultura de la humanidad en tiempos de la extinción por la crisis climática, el fentanilo.
So you have this huge narrative as well, and all the Central and South American countries are talking about what's going on in Venezuela and this idea of the narco terrorists, and they use it the same thing in Mexico. Just your thoughts on President Petro and just kind of that whole vibe.
Yeah. Look, they've already tried to assassinate this dude. There's been plots against him all of a sudden. The thing about Colombia, I have to say, is I would have never figured Colombia to go left wing. They have been right wing for so long. I mean, so long. You know what I'm saying? And to finally get a leftist in, someone who's brought down all of the guerrilla warfare that's been happening. He brought FARC to the table. All of the civil wars are ending. He's got communication with Venezuela. They were always meant to be like a flanking threat for Venezuela because they share a border. You know what I'm saying? And that's something you got to take in mind. You think that the Americans would have to invade from the coastline, which is one of the hardest ways to engage into a theater of combat. You know what I'm saying? All that Normandy shit, they never show you how many people died. Like, storming the fucking beach mostly goes the Bay of Pigs way. You know, so like, if you knew you had a soft, easy way in through something like Colombia, that would be so much more advantageous, right? So like, the loss of Colombia to the left is catastrophic for the Americans. It's absolutely catastrophic. And before this time, they were considered the tightest type of military alliance you can have with the United States and not be in NATO, right? That's been, you know, since kind of dialed back. You know, but it goes to show you again about how the left sounds, you know, especially the real left, you know, in the global South. It reminds me of 20 years ago. It was Hugo Chavez up there that got up and gave a speech about this. The devil was just right here. You know, I saw that and was immediately in love. I'm like, this is what you want the left to look like. Strong, confident, willing to speak truth to power. These are supposed to be these progressive values that we all enjoy so much in America, right? But then it never happens. And then this dude got up and did that. That's why, like, I was already past a Barack Obama by the time he ran, because I'm like, nah, he's not even saying what Ugo's saying. You know, Ugo cut through the bullshit, and like, that's what we're starting to get with Pedro. You know, he's on some Gary Webb shit right there, man. He naming names almost. He's talking about who they working with, and who would better know than the president of Colombia. You know, this directly counteracts the effete, silly, lack of heroism type of, like, you call him evil Frodo, you know, of what you get in my lie. You know, the president in Argentina, which is what they want, right? That's what they want, to be the face of South America, which is why they've had to bail them out time after time after time. First, Argentina got a bailout from the IMF. You know, now Scott Bessent is cutting them a direct check, $20 billion to keep the economy afloat. Again, $20 billion that could have went to reparations, $20 billion that could have went to Palestine, $20 billion that could have went to the healthcare, you know, making sure that, you know, Medicaid is funded up, $20 billion that could have went to student loans. Instead, it's going to prop up Milei so that they can continue to act like this wild experiment, you know, in libertarianism as anything other than a direct disaster. And this, let's be honest, this is really a gift to Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is the person that is propping up Milei so that he could continue to have access to them lithium mines. See, when you're seeing someone like Pedro, they belying that old neo-colonial order. They saying, nah, we done with that. We done with letting the Americans come in and exploit us. You mostly hear this through the Venezuelan leaders. You sometimes starting to hear something similar, but not nearly as much gravissimo, much more diligent and elegant, like Lula, right? He ain't really trying to cut that. He want to be everybody's cool grandpa. He ain't trying to be, you know, Hugo Chavez, chest out, masculine, right? And Pedro's being the intellectual of the South, you know, of South America right now. He's really hitting them with these are the dates, these are the facts, and this is why we're seeing forces out there, you know.
Could have had a bad bitch, man. Could have been in bricks. You had it. It was right there. And Argentina said, no, we're going to go with evil Bilbo. That's what we want. We want the chainsaw guy that's going to cut all the programs.
It's always been this way, bro. I have no sympathy. They were the first South American nation to expel black people. So we were brought there as slave labor. And then when they got their fucking independence, they kicked all the black people out. Fuck Argentina.
You would hope to see that they would be in solidarity with just their own continent mates, their neighbors, you know, but like you said, this is what happens when you kick out black people. You start to have a world with no PLCs. You start to have this, love of whiteness, which just leads to these type of things. And you would hope that being invited to BRICS and just being the numbers themselves should be so good. Because, I mean, if we go back to deals that's being made by the United States, those deals are being made with Europe and Japan, and those are some of the worst deals that you can make. And those deals are being done kind of with a gun pointed at you a little bit, because that's how the United States is working. They're gaining all of their vassals while BRICS is right there saying, hey, do you want to make a bag? And Argentina still chose to go with with the United States and the West. So I'm gonna just hope that situation, we will see Malay out very soon. Hey, okay, I want to talk about this before we talk about the Pete Hegseth thing, because I think we live in a crazy world, right? Like, and every day the world is so crazy, we don't even care any much about like what the president says, because the president says so many crazy things. And in a world where, like real things are happening, like people dying every day in Gaza, or the war in Russia or Iran, or major military moves in the Pacific, the Asia Pacific, or really any of those things, you don't get to see all the ridiculous things that Trump says. But we've been calling this thing the shame chair, or I don't know how you framed it, but I kind of feel like that's what it is. So this right here is go ahead.
It's too terrible. I can't say it. Okay.
All right. Well, look, at some point, I'm sure YouTube is going to be flagging us for something. But anyway, for our
chair, you sit there and watch.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Well, there it is. There it is. Brought to you by Tanky. That's the real deal, y'all. We want to give it to you and what the people are saying. But you can use whatever language, whether that one or not safe for work, however you want to go about your business. For our podcast listeners, this is Donald Trump sitting next to Turkey's President Erdogan. And I'll just play the video. You'll be able to hear it, and I want to get your reaction, and we'll move on to the next stuff.
Of Turkey.
Unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out test of friendship. But
oh my. Oh my. He know more about rigged elections than anybody. Damn, bro. I do be running, bro. People gonna watch this, right? I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's such a humiliation ritual, man. And, he's been on Erdogan all week. We talk about him a lot on this channel about how hard a job it is to Erdogan and people like MBS, where they have to walk this incredibly tight, dangerous, razor blade tripwire between the West, and their other, obligations. Like, Erdogan has obligations to the Muslim world. He has historical connections, business connections with Russia, right? Like these connections are older than the United States themselves. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, he's in NATO and he wants to be part of the EU. So he's consistently having to eat shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that Trump's been on him a lot about this week is like, the whole Syria thing. I don't know why Erdogan doesn't take more credit for what he did in Syria. You should tell everybody, tell them what you did. Tell them that really it was you. It was you that brought down Assad. Again, it's twisting the knife, right? It's displaying your puppet, and twisting the knife in places like Iran and Russia, because they have relations with Turkey and they make plans with Turkey. And it's just to remind them, once again, we control Turkey. Turkey will do ultimately what we tell them to do. There's nothing they're going to do that we're not okay with. And if we're not okay with what y'all doing, We gonna make sure it stops. It's a like these are the ways where Trump, in all of his lack of subtlety, is like really showing the Harkonnen fist of like American geopolitics. You know what I'm saying? I humiliate you in front of the world and make it a joke. Ain't it funny?
Yeah.
You tell them about all them rigged elections.
What about, look, again, I mean, Trump does it in a very unique way, and he does it more often. But let's not forget, I just want to keep bringing up Joe Biden just to remind everyone that it's been crazy like this. You don't want to remember, hey, Mr. President Biden, how are you going to stop the Nord Stream pipeline from going through? And it's such a big economic, like aspect of Europe and Russia. Oh, we'll do it. Oh, no matter what happens, we'll do it. That's you saying I will blow it up, basically. No matter what happens, I'm going to stop you from doing it. Vladimir Z. Again, going back to the arrest warrant for the person who blew up the Nord Stream. Ridiculous. Again, we live in a ridiculous world, the unreality. Okay, let's talk. I want to know
in the world name of Vladimir Z. Can't think of nobody. There is a warrant, though.
Yeah. I bet there's a lot of Vladimir Z's, though.
Well, and I will also say, because we haven't talked about this, but it's incredibly important and it is dangerous. We ask you always, as people who are studying geopolitics, cui bono, who gains, right? Because we've been seeing all of these little drones all over Europe. Why in the fuck would Russia just fly a drone? If they gonna violate your airspace, why wouldn't they just bomb you? Why wouldn't they do that? But they not. They just flying drones. Who benefits, right, from a incredible overreaction, right, in Europe to like, oh my God, it's drones. Like, remember when there like this weird little drone thing that was happening in America like a year or two ago? Remember that? Like, it was just drones everywhere in these cities. Like, people were seeing these drones.
Yes, they were from the government, and everyone was like, what's going on?
From the government, right?
Guys, it's the government.
Cui bono, man. And that's all I'm going to say on that. That's going to be a whack-ass casus belly if they go with that, man.
They don't have a lot of good options, man. Because no matter what happens, information travels fast. Now, you can make your population as dumb as possible with as much propaganda and work them until they don't know what's what and which way's up. But, the rest of the world doesn't exist like that. And anyway. Okay, so it looks like it's going bad for Europe, Israel, America, right? People are pushing back. So this makes this even more interesting to me. Let me get this guy off of here.
Big election.
Man, that was crazy. So this is some breaking news. Pete Hegseth, Pete Hegseth. He is the Secretary of War. It must be war because God wills it. That's actually crazy because he has those tattoos that are basically saying God wills it and all that good stuff.
He does.
Infidel. Pete Hegseth orders hundreds of senior military officers to Virginia for highly unusual meeting. You talked to me about this. You mentioned it. What is this about? What does this mean? And why is this so unusual?
Highly senior greatly understates the truth of what happened. He called all the generals in off their bases, all of them around the world, no matter where you were stationed. The generals were called in to meet with him. Now, look, he's the Secretary of War. These things happen, but mostly they happen like how this is happening, digitally. We talk about it over digital communications. Yo, what's going on in the Philippines? Hey, I got this shit, What's going on in South Korea? Yo, I got this shit, CENTCOM, Southcom, AFRICOM. Everybody checks in. But no one checks in like this. This has not happened for quite some time. And it just leads you to believe that war is imminent. We don't know where war is coming. There are so many options, so many places, so many possibilities. But when you do, maybe they just all came and met together to sing Kumbaya and have birthday cake. Maybe. It's a greater than 0% chance it's nothing.
They're just having a prayer meeting.
You know what I'm saying? They want to hold hands and talk about what happened with Charlie Kirk's loss. You know, maybe that's what it is.
Seeing everyone involved. See you in Valhalla, brother.
There it is. You know, he's been calling his people war fighters for quite some time. And so I think he wants to demonstrate that power. I think he wants to demonstrate the capacity and the strength of the American empire in an unmistakable way. You know, that's who his personality is. That's who his persona is based on. You know, and these are just not things that are casual things. You have to take note of these kind of things. Could it be Venezuela? Possibly. You know, the overwhelming probability is it is the same thing it always was. The Iran war is about to get popping again. That's what but look, man, you know, conjecture is an unworthy science. Suffice it to say, he met with all of his top generals, not just military leaders, his generals. And he didn't want it recorded. You know, he didn't want cameras. He didn't want it to go across the internet. He wanted to talk to them face to face. And that's something that everybody in the world should have a little bit of concern for.
There's a movie we watched called Alto Nights. It's Robert De Niro, and he's playing two roles. He's playing the Genoveses, and I forget the other guy that he's playing, but they're basically the mob bosses. And in this movie, to set everyone up, he invites all of the generals or all of the bosses from all around the world. And one of the reasons he says he does it is because his rival, the Genoveses, they respected their older brother, and their older brother would have done it like this. And I feel like sometimes Hegseth wants to show, like, I'm a real Secretary of Defense. War, actually, buddy. You know, and it's like, I got to bring in all these generals. So it could be. Do you think symbolism? Is it more? Do you think that this brings us closer to war? I mean, is this? I guess my thing is, I never know what's just performative and what is really a sign that an escalation is possible.
I just want to believe in at least the competency of highly placed. Maybe this is the foolish American in me, you know, like it'd be such a waste of resource to do this thing if it's just that, you know. No one has any doubt that this is the man that's in charge of them. You know, there are people that are, that are in charge of him, you know. But that's, you know, Toranaga doesn't need to get the whole army in front of him to be like, oh, good job. You know
so most likely smoking is fire here.
Yeah. This is just not a normal thing. This is, you know, I don't know if something like this has been done since World War II. You know, and we've had wars since then, you know. I think it's to make sure that everybody's on the same page, you know, and also there's so many things you get from that. You know, I get to see who's the person. Oh, you couldn't make it. Okay. Yeah, you're the only one, though. It's just important that you know. All of the general. There was a general that was in, you know, wherever in the fuck, and he made it, but you couldn't make it, right? It also, you know, it lets you know who's willing to follow the order. The order was, come here, you know, and yet you weren't able to follow this order. Can I trust you with the next set of orders that are coming?
Right. Yeah.
It establishes many things, you know. Again, it's soft power, but it's the hardest use of soft power that you can see.
Yeah. I guess that's the show. I want to give a shout out to our podcast listeners. I know you guys are doing what you can. We got a new vibe going on here with the videos and trying to show videos and stuff like that. And, you know, we may be playing different languages. And, you know, there's so many people that have to hear English all the time. And, you know, that's not the number one language of the world. If so, we'd be speaking Mandarin. So, we appreciate y'all. We are available everywhere you find podcasts. We are also obviously here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment for the algorithms, fables, foibles, and other American sins. It's available innercityleft.com. New music dropping next month, I believe. We'll tell you more about that soon, but we got plenty of music there in the discography. Go ahead and listen to that. And we always appreciate people's, you know, well wishes and good things like that. We left us in the game, so you get a lot of trolls, a lot of stuff like that. But our spirits are strong, especially because of our Patreon, patreon.com/innercityleft. Budding, lovely, wonderful group of individuals over there, and we're gonna keep plugging away at that. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy world that we live in, dude. Final thoughts. What did we miss?
Like, share, subscribe, share, comment, engage, evolve.
Wait, what? Evolve? That's not.
Got it. You know what I'm saying? You got.
That's true. You do.
Your consciousness.
Yeah. Too many animes. All right, I think that's it. The internet's kicking us off. They're done with us. For Moja, Lil Tanky Sumler, I'm Amin TMK. This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Shout out to the Alphabet Boys. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' Inner City Left.